Charge move incoming. The spider is going to do what pesky spiders do best and fire off the debuff. We're going to fire off one mud shot and go for the mud bomb bait. As Galvantula users love to shield everything, we force a protect shield with the mud bomb, allowing us to outpace to the stone edge. And the question is, does the opponent respect the damage? Welcome back to the channel. You can see by my on-screen elo, we have tanked over 200 points in the last few days. That'd be because I've been allowing my Discord to pick my teams and some of them have been terrible. A discussion broke out about how OP Tentacruel is and what the best mud bomb user would be for the Open Ultra League. Unova Stunfisk was named as that pick. However, of course, this is the home of Shadow Pokemon. My Discord know I've got a level 50 Quagsire and they wanted to see it in action, so here we are. My Discord, with the help of PvPoke, suggested team partners to be Clefable, which I was very happy with as I've got a rank 2 Clefable, and then they suggested Raikou. Unfortunately, I don't even have a Shadow Raikou. I had to invest 137 rare candy and around 150,000 Stardust to make it, which is pretty brutal, so if you appreciate that investment, smash that like button. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we see the stupid Tin Can Registeel into the Quagman, you love to see it. The opponent save switches into shiny Giratina, and we answer with Clefable, this opponent. Attempt to throw a double resisted Dragon Claw bait into Clefable, and that is probably one of the most questionable plays I have ever seen, but this is the trenches. We overfarm, fire off the Moonblast, rocks Giratina deep into the red. We can tank one further Shadow Sneak, commit to the full Fairy Wind farm down. Registeel will come in, get a very hefty lock on farm down. However, Quagman doesn't care. We fire off the Moonblast, fishing for the attack drop. RNG says, you've already got the RPS favour, you're not getting RNG luck. Clefable fires off the second Moonblast, getting Registeel down below half health. I'm going to send back in the Quagman. We know we tank any one move, so I'm just going to continue to overfarm and anticipate the opponent pivoting. The opponent fires off the Focus Blast. There's the pivot. Hello Poliwrath, meet Raikou. Raikou is actually a fantastic anti-meta pick. It obviously beats Poliwrath and the other water types, and it's got that huge Shadow Ball coverage for stuff like Giratina and Cresselia. I fire off the Shadow Ball first as the opponent's going to be forced to start a shield, and I don't want to lower my own defense. The opponent continuing to farm up. They play to a CMP tie. They do not win. Shout out Home Size Henry for that quote. We force the opponent's final shield, and now we're going to put it all on the Quagman. Despite only being 2,234 CP, we've got this one in the bag. The first Mud Bomb doesn't get the opponent out of here. We're going to pause a turn, ensure this next Mud Bomb lands on Poliwrath. Hi Poliwrath, bye Poliwrath, just Reggie does return, and this Quagman is about to sweep Mud Bomb to the face. Get wrecked, you stupid tin can. GG's, and thanks for playing. Oof, rough lead. We're going to pivot into Raikou. A lot of Dragonites come with Tapu Fini, and this opponent likely has it as they're going to continue to stay in. We're going to shield up the Dragon Claw. Raikou, despite not being a shadow, is ridiculously glassy. These Dragon Breaths tearing us apart. However, we're at the back-to-back wild charges. The first one forces the opponent's first Protect Shield, and the second one is going to knock out or force all shields down. The opponent does invest that Protect Shield. We've now got a shield advantage Clefable. I'm going to wait on my full clock as I will be switch locked. Sending Clefable. The opponent choose to dump energy, which is pretty questionable as this energy is going nowhere. The team read is a good one as out comes Tapu Fini. We're going to fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast going to land the heavy neutral damage, getting Tapu Fini down below half health. We're going to continue to farm up. Look to make a catch onto the Quagman. Unfortunately, the opponent doesn't throw. However, they do go for a very silly Surf Bait. Quagman withstands the damage. This again, only a Surf, and Quagman will survive. And this is where we're going to try and get fancy. We're going to go for the Mud Bomb, go for the Undercharge. We need Clefable to leave with as much energy as possible, so I stop tapping. Allow the opponent to Water Gun farm down. Can we Fairy Wind down before the opponent reaches the Surf? Holy, one single turn. Can you believe it? I'm forced to burn my final Protect Shield, and things are now looking somewhat rough. The opponent's final Pokemon is Jellicent, so if I would have got that perfect farm down, I think we'd be in a pretty good spot. However, you're going to be able to see two Moonblasts don't secure the knockout, so I'm just going to gracefully concede the match. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, looking for some redemption, we see Skeledirge. Let's go. Beautiful lead. The opponent stay in. Attempt to catch a Mud Bomb onto Poliwrath. No such luck. We've got two decent answers in the back for Poliwrath. However, Clefable definitely doesn't fancy seeing Skeledirge, so I opt to send out Clefable. The opponent goes straight for the Scald. We withstand the damage, and there is no baiting. We full send the Moonblast. Moonblast, get that Poliwrath out of here. Back out comes Skeledirge. Unfortunately, all of our charge moves are resisted. Clefable fires off the Moonblast. We get the attack drop, which is going to force the opponent to throw. Clefable has done its job, so of course we're going to allow the disarming voice to take us out. The opponent continued to stay in. We fire off 2 mud shots and the mud bomb for optimal fast move timing, forcing the opponent's first protect shield. They then send out Kyurem. We're going for the bait. You know the opponent's scared of the Stone Edge. We force that protect shield, and we're about to find out just how much damage Stone Edge does. I'll be honest, I thought it'd probably do around 75-80%. So I full send it, hoping to get the resisted Volt Switch farm down to Shadow Ball. However, it near one-shots, we mud shot farm down. We're just going to allow the opponent to take out the Quagman, and we're going to show him our third. Shadow Ball secures the knockout. We send out Raikou. We're just going to shield up whatever the opponent throws. We've now received the energy for the Wild Charge, and Wild Charge is going to be massive overkill. GG's, and thanks for playing. That Stone Edge on Kyurem was insane. Heading into the next battle. We see Shadow and Shadow Crime, Quagman into Gliscor, the opponent switch out again, into Virizion, looking to catch the Mud Bomb. We show him Clefable, and evidently that opponent's having an even worse time at GBL than myself, as they just say no thank you and concede the match. In the next battle, we see the Quagman into Giratina. Unfortunately, I am going to look to stay in, as Raikou doesn't really fancy this work. The opponent throws a Shadow Sneak, definitely not the play. Both Dragon Claw and Shadow Sneak do exactly the same amount of damage, so you always want to throw Dragon Claw in neutral situations. You can see Quagman, despite only being 2,234 CP, does win CMP. Dragon Claw gets the slow, but the Quagman able to reach one further Mud Bomb, and it looks like Quagman actually wins the 0 shield. We force ourselves shield advantage, and we can send in Clefable for the aggressive Fairy Wind farm down. The opponent will reach 2 Shadow Sneaks, however you can see Clefable tanks it really well. One of the main disadvantages of running Clefable, despite now having access to Fairy Wind, is charge moves are so expensive. So if you get a situation like this to come in, farm something down, you're sitting in a great spot. The opponent sends out Jellicent. We fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast lands for decent neutral damage, and we aggressively pivot into Raikou, drawing out Obstagoon. The opponent throw out really poor timing, allowing us a full free Volt Switch. We're not going to shield the first move in case the opponent throws an Obstruct or get the boost. Of course it's an Obstructagoon. However, Raikou undeterred farms up, throws the first Wild Charge. Again, the opponent throws on alignment. And even if they Obstruct again, no defense buff will be saving you from the wrath of Raikou. We're at the back-to-back Wild Charges. The first one forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and the second one is going to get this goon out of here. Switch timer pops up. We're going to aggressively pivot to reset our debuff, sending out Clefable. We farm up. Throw the Moonblast. Moonblast, unfortunately, not going to be lethal, but Jellicent now is on a sliver of HP. The opponent needs a Shadow Ball to take us out. They throw the Surf. We withstand the damage. The opponent does Hex, farm us down. However, one Volt Switch is going to be all she wrote. We shield up the incoming charge move, and we take that game. Jellicent into the Quagman. We're just going to aggressively pivot into Raikou and see what the opponent wants to do. They give us a boatload of energy and send out Registeel. We've got a huge energy lead. We're going to fire off the Shadow Ball first. If you're wondering why, it's because we will survive one move as long as we're not debuffed. The opponent shield the first move, really wanting alignment. The opponent throw the Focus Blast. You can see we can now just about survive. We're now at the back-to-back Wild Charges. Please be enough to knock out this big tin can. The first one lands. Unfortunately, it isn't lethal, so I think here I should have thrown one further Volt Switch, because now on 4 stage lowered on defense, the opponent is going to lock on, farm us down, and survive on 1 HP and a Dream. So very much a misplay on my part. However, to combat that, we're going to send out Clefable, anticipating the opponent blind Focus Blasting, and they do. Clefable's now going to be able to Fairy Wind farm down. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. They send back out Jellicent. We're going to respect the Shadow Ball. The opponent full sends the Shadow Ball, and it smells like Polygraph in the back. We're going to farm up, throw 4 Fairy Winds and the Moonblast. Moonblast lands for decent damage. The opponent continue to stay in. They actually throw one short of a Shadow Ball, so this is only a Surf. However, I think the opponent actually is just looking to chip me. Knowing I'm unlikely to shield a Surf, we fire off the Moonblast, and of course it is Polygraph in the back. I'm going to look to bank a move, catch the Icy Wind onto Quagman. I'm hoping that Quagman can force the opponent's final shield and we can get Polygraph out of here with the Moonblast. However, you're going to see Quagman doesn't hit all that hard. And now we're getting our attack lowered again and again. 2 Mud Bombs ain't going to be lethal. I think an argument could be made here that I could have shielded this up, looked to get off the back-to-back Mud Bombs. However, this game is getting very, very dicey. I think I've made a few misplays here, there, and every fucking where. So the first misplay is I should have thrown one further Volt Switch against Registeel. which would have actually knocked it out. And I think there, I probably should have just looked to throw the Moonblast, force the opponent's final shield, and then pivot. This is the beauty of running different teams all the time. You can watch back your battles, figure out where you went wrong, and improve in the future. We see Greninja in the lead, we tank the charge move, pivot out into Raikou, the opponent sends out Skeledirge, we full send the Shadow Ball, the opponent shows no respect, we Volt Switch farm down, Skeledirge is straight in and straight out, and the opponent's going to concede the match. We see some more Shadow on Shadow crime. Two very excelled Shadow Pokemon, the Quagman versus Powder Snow, Alolan Ninetales. We're not going to shield up the Weather Ball. We're going to ensure this Stone Edge lands on Ninetales. You're going to see I'm going to pause a turn. Full send the Stone Edge. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. We're then going to pivot into Raikou and get the snipe. The opponent is going to land the Weather Ball. However, the Volt Switch will be taking them out. We've now got a 1 Volt Switch head start, and the opponent sends out Skeledirge. Are we going to be 2 for 2 on nuking Skeledirge? This opponent knows better. They shield it up. Boom, Mr. Opponent. However, the opponent then gets super greedy, looking for the full Incinerate farm down, and Raikou will be forcing all shields down. This Skeledirge at 100 energy is going to be quite scary. The opponent throw one further Incinerate. Why? I have no idea. That allows us to reach the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb isn't lethal. However, we're just going to put it all on Clefable. Disarming Voice secures the knockout. In comes Clefable. Of course, we're going to respect the potential Shadow Ball. The opponent full send it. What have you got in the back, trainer? The opponent's final Pokemon is XL Lantern. However, Lantern, you, sir, need to return to the Great League. Because when you're faced with a proper XL Pokemon in the Big Boy Ultra League, you are no match for us. We fire off the Moonblast, getting that debuff. The opponent's Surf now does absolutely fuck all. Clefable then fires off Moonblast. Number 2, get that Lantern out of here. Back out comes Skeledirge, and we're going to resist it, Fairy Wind farm down, and take that game. In the next battle, we see a tough lead. We say switch into Raikou. If you're wondering why I've gone to my hard counter, because I certainly would not recommend say switching a fairy into a meta where Tentacruel and fire types are everywhere. The opponent sends out Regirock again. We fire off the Shadow Ball first. Shadow Ball forces the Protect Shield. We're then going to full send the Wild Charge, looking to get as much damage on Regirock as possible. Wild Charge lands for huge damage. Regirock super spammy to charge because it only takes 11 turns. So I was reluctant to shield as I don't think I could Volt Switch farm down before the next move. We now send in Quagman. This is only a Stone Edge. Quagman looking for the full Mud Shot farm down. That matchup in the opening that was dreadful is now good with energy. What does the opponent have in the back? Come on, trainer. Please be double weak. No, it's Virizion. We pivot into Clefable, and this is going to get somewhat entertaining. The opponent misaligns the switch timer by chipping us with a Leaf Blade, and that gives me a fighting chance. We fire off the Moonblast. The opponent invests that final Protect Shield, and that is going to allow us to Stone Edge this bug. However, we've got to keep Clefable healthy, as it's the only way of getting rid of Virizion. We shield up the Liquidation. We don't see the defense drop. Clefable going straight Moonblast. All the way Moonblast. Gets Gliscopod incredibly low. We get the attack drop. I think this, I should have no-shielded. However, we do shield up the Liquidation, and I think this game is still pretty comfortable. We then snipe just before Gliscopod makes the next Liquidation. It takes him 6-6, then there's 5. So we snipe on the 4th. Back out comes Virizion. We just need to put this thing into Moonblast range, and that Mud Bomb has essentially done it, as Moonblast does around 70%. The opponent continue to farm up. We throw the Stone Edge. Stone Edge lands for decent resisted damage. All we need to do is survive a Leaf Blade and hit the Moonblast. So we will sneak a Fairy Wind. You can see we do sneak the Fairy Wind. However, Leaf Blade leaves me on a sliver of HP and like an absolute potato. I pressed the wrong side. Is Meteor Mash enough to knock out? No, it's not. And there's a 101 of How to Throw a Game by Jamie Finn. 1415. What a fucking potato. Oh, moving on to the next one. We see the Pesky Spider. Can we get some redemption? The opponent does what Pesky Spiders do best and fire off the debuff. We throw one Mud Shot, throw the Mud Bomb bait, as Spiders love to shield everything. This is now going to allow me to outpace to the Stone Edge. And the question is, does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Get fucking wrecked. Quagman takes shield advantage and wins lead. The opponent sends out Jellicent. I am fearful it might be double water, so I pivot into Raikou because I'm always petrified the opponent might have a Tentacruel. Can you believe when I ran Quag we saw 0 Tentacruel despite it being pretty much on 80% of teams? It is what it is. However, Scrafty comes in, we tank the foul play, we fire off the back-to-back wild charges. The opponent isn't going to invest their final protection here. Back out comes Jellicent. They get the Hex farm down. Clefable Up 2 Protect Shield should be pretty good here, unless the opponent masturbate me like a savage about 100 times. We're going to call the first one. The opponent, of course, does masturbate. We withstand the damage. Is the opponent going to YOLO the Shadow Ball this time? We respect it. And, of course, the opponent going bait, 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 masturbate, masturbate all the way. However, we're going to throw it Discipline Timing, throw the Moonblast. Moonblast forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, then look to make a catch onto the Quagman, and unfortunately we're unsuccessful. We do force the opponent to throw Surf, takes us out, back out, comes Clefable. Are they going to bait again? We respect it. Another fucking bait. Holy crap. Mr. Opponent, how many cats do you want to kill? We fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast isn't quite lethal. However, Clefable is pretty thick. This will be a Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball won't get the job done, and no amount of masturbating is going to save this opponent's fate. GG's, and thanks for playing. So those were the battles with a very spicy team suggested by my Discord. I actually went positive with this team, and even some of the matches I did lose, there were win cons, which I did break down. I hope you all enjoyed that detailed gameplay breakdown. It pains me to see some of them misplays. However, it's better to learn from me than make the same mistakes yourself. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.